Here's how you can activate and utilize a pet cam on your stream. This method is using OBS and Firebot and does require 2 cameras. So first we're going to start with our OBS setup. There's some pre-work that needs to be done to make sure your camera is ready to be toggled on and off. So the way I'm choosing to do it is to create an entirely new scene that will house any images or Giphies or anything like that that you want to toggle on and off at a specific time. You could put it on your main scene, but I like putting it in a separate scene so that it can be used on whatever scene you're in. It just kind of becomes a little bit easier, but whatever method works for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new scene by hitting the plus button over here, and we'll call this videos. And hit OK. Now we have this blank scene that doesn't have any sources, so we're going to add our second camera that is pointed at our furry little friend as the source. So we'll hit this plus button, and we're going to add a video capture device. And you're probably going to need to create a new one. I already have one here called PupCam, but we'll just pretend I'm creating a new one. So we'll call this one Pet Cam. We'll hit OK. And it will ask for you to select your device from the sources list. It's not turning on my device because it is already in use in another source. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. And I'm going to delete this source and use the one that I'm already using. So my scene is called GIFs or GIFs, however you decide to pronounce it. And in that, you'll notice I have all of my sources and they are all set to not visible. Again, I don't want these visible until some type of action triggers it to happen, whether it's a channel point redemption, a command in chat, or something to cause the action to happen. Now that we have the OBS portion set up, we're going to jump over into Firebot, set up the integrations, and set up the command so we can see everything in action. So in Firebot, the first thing we're going to need to do is set up the integration between Firebot and OBS. So we're going to go over to Settings. And then we're looking for Integrations. And scroll down until you see OBS integrations. And as you can see, this connects to OBS to allow Firebot to change scenes, toggle sources, filters, and much more. And it does require OBS 28 or higher, or the OBS WebSocket version 5 plugin. I am using OBS version 28. So we'll click Configure. Take a note of the local host and the port. You don't need to change this here. You can go ahead and set a password and then hit save. Now let's jump back over to OBS just for a second and let's finish setting up that connection. Under OBS, go to Tools, OBS WebSocket Settings. Make sure you're using that same port number. Ours was 4455. Put in that same server password and make sure you check Enable Authentication. And once you apply that, you should see your connected socket settings. And that way you know that the integration between Firebot and OBS is complete. Now let's go back over into Firebot and we're going to create the trigger or the action that is going to cause our pet cam, mine is called PupCam, to become visible. You can do this a number of ways. I'm going to use a command that people can type into chat. So we're going to go to the command section and create a new custom command. And the trigger is going to be the phrase that sets it off. Mine is already called PupCam. I will call this one PetCam. You can give it a description if you just want to keep track of everything. It's not really required. You can set a global cooldown, that is how much time needs to expire before the command can be ran again by anyone, or you can set a user cooldown, which is how much time must pass before the same user can run that command again. You can put restrictions on the command. So for example, if you want the command to only be ran by subs or people that are VIPs or moderators, you can do that. And then we're going to get into our base effects. So let me show you what some of the restrictions look like. You can have a permissions-based restriction, and we can add that. And we can restrict by roles, or we can restrict by a single viewer. We're going to restrict by role, and let's say I only want myself as the streamer, my moderators, VIPs, and subscribers to be able to run this command. I can check those boxes off, and then we can proceed to put in our effects. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this, and we're going to use the PupCam command that I've already created and take a look at that. So since I already have my command built, we'll go ahead and look at this one. And as you can see, I have a global cooldown of 300 seconds, which is about 5 minutes. And I have my permissions set to VIPs, subscribers, moderators, etc. So this is what the command does. When the command is issued, it plays a little barking sound. So that way, if I'm busy or I'm engaged in a game, I know that somebody ran the command. It's a little trigger in my ear as well. It toggles on the source visibility, and then it puts in a delay. I did about 30 seconds just to give it some time to be on the screen, and then it toggles the visibility off again. So let's dive into each one of these. And so to do this, you would come into the effects section and you would click add new effect. And just because I kind of know what some of the effects are that I'm looking for, like if you're under all, you can scroll down through this entire list. But knowing that I want to play a sound first, I will search for the word play, and here's play sound effect. Now I already have it here, but we'll just go through what adding an effect looks like. So we'll click on play sound, we'll select that, and then it'll ask if it's a local file from a random folder. I want to do a specific sound, so I'm going to do choose file, and somewhere in here I should have a dog sound. There's my dog barking sound. You can adjust the volume and make sure it's coming through the right output device, and we can go ahead and we add that sound effect. I'm going to delete this because I don't need it. Now the next step is where we actually turn the camera on, and so that is toggling OBS source visibility. You would add the effect the same way. You can just search for the word toggle, and there we see toggle OBS source visibility. And then what this is going to do, that first step where we did that integration between Firebot and OBS, if that's not working, you are not going to see anything on this list. And so if you just did your integration and it's coming up blank, maybe restart OBS, make sure you run it as administrator, restart Firebot, make sure you're running it as administrator, to make sure you have that connection, because you should absolutely see all of your scenes here. And so what I want to do is I want to find the source PupCam that is in my particular scene. And remember, my scene was called GIFs. You can call yours whatever you like. So I'm going to scroll down. Here's my GIF scene, and then here is my puppy cam within that scene. So I want to check that, and then what I want to do, I can either show, hide, or toggle. Toggle is if it's showing, it's going to hide it. If it's hiding, it's going to show it. So technically you could do toggle and do that for both commands. I like to have a little bit more control over it, just in case I accidentally turned the camera on manually, was testing, was leaving it on. I'm always going to get the desired effects. It's completely up to you. So I am going to show that source, and we're going to add it just like that. So after we show our source, the next thing I want to do is I want to leave it on the screen for a few seconds. So we're going to put in a delay. So we can search for delay, and all that does is pause between effects. We select that action and we set the number of seconds. So you can do 30 seconds and you can add that. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I already have one. And then the final effect is to toggle the source visibility again. We're going back to that same source that we showed, but this time we're going to hide it. And here's a little trick. Since you already created the toggle source visibility once and we already have the source picked out, you can come over here and click on these three dots and you can duplicate the source. Then you just have to remember to go in here and edit your effect. It already has the PupCam chosen, and make sure that it's set to show or hide. So once that's done, you can go ahead and save your changes. You want to make sure, and it is enabled by default, but you want to make sure that your command is enabled. So then your command will show up on your command list, exclamation PupCam, and then it's going to, it can only be done by the roles that we put in place. The command is enabled. And so now we're ready to test it out. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. The command has been made. Firebot is ready to go. We're back in OBS. I have my chat window up. I'm going to type PupCam and hit enter and see if we get our camera. Remember, my pup's not actually there right now, but we'll see if the effect is at least working. We hear the sound and we see the little window where my pup would be. Looks like it's working to me. Thanks so much for watching.